Chapter 25. Some assembly required. Summary. Turns out the group needs to go to the nearby city in order to get some essential ship parts. It's sure to be an experience. Izuku sat down with a huff. It's okay, Izuku, Mei cackled. All good babies explode a couple of times before you finish them. It's part of the process. He just sighed in exacerbation. I get it's part of the process, but how did it explode? There was nothing combustible in my design. It was literally just a collapsible space helmet. How did it nearly start a forest fire? I once made a baby out of pipe cleaners and paper clips that exploded. Imagine my sensei cried that day. Zuko let out a soft chuckle. That's what he gets for his mechanics teacher being Mei. Lots of improbable explosions. He guesses he did make progress from that explosion. Zuko's not sure where the collapsible space helmet idea came from, but he supposes it'd probably be pretty helpful once they actually get up into space. Despite how beautiful the cosmos is, it is incomprehensibly dangerous. They need to actually stay alive to make it home. Now, after his first escapade into actually making his own tech, he was ecstatic to make more. He finally understood why Mei would sometimes get that manic look in her eyes when inventing, and he was sure that it reflected in his own. Izuku truly loved designing and making things, maybe even as much as he loved quirk analysis. He couldn't imagine his life without analysis, and now, he couldn't imagine his life without inventing either. He honestly never would have even considered it if not for the circumstances that led them here. Izuku let out another sigh as Mei pulled him up from his sulking spot on the grass and back towards the group, though his small smile didn't go unnoticed by the pinkette. Oh yeah! Mei suddenly spoke up. By the way, guys, we need some important parts for the ship, baby, and there's no way to get them in town for a good price. But the nearby city has some really good parts suppliers I should be able to talk down, so we need to go there soon. Oh, is that the same one I went to for my out-of-town performance? The Eka City or something? Mina questioned. Responding quickly, Mei said, Exactly! Izuku and you should definitely come along to get the parts and some supplies for the thing. Mina stared at Mei in confusion for a second, before understanding seemed to dawn on her face, and she lit up. Oh yeah! Izuku eyed the rest of the group to see similarly confused looks on their faces, but the group didn't seem to dwell on the two girls' mystery for too long. I'm going too, Katsuki butted in. I've been looking for anything spicy in this shitty town for weeks, and I still haven't found anything. Count me in too, Dinky said brightly. And eventually, it was decided that all the Terrans would go next weekend. The two kids weren't really up for the big city, much preferring to just hang out with their friends for the day. But they were still up to rambling about the trip when the day finally came. It's going to be so big and so cool and scary. Promise me you won't get lost. When Miss Mierta took me to a city back home, we got lost and walked around for so long my feet hurt. So that means you need to be careful and not get lost so your feet won't hurt. Puyopo ranted as the group was ready to leave. Don't worry, Izuku assured. Mei downloaded some maps and GPS on the tablet, so there is no way we'll get lost. We'll be back safe in no time. Don't worry. Fastel was leaned against a tree, obviously trying to look relaxed, but the nervous twitch in their tail said otherwise. We'll miss you. Have a good time, though, Fastel said nonchalantly, eyes trained on a particularly pink patch of grass. Mina and Denki settled up right beside Fastel with a reassuring arm around each of their shoulders. With a teasing cheek pinch, Mina cooed, Ah, you care! Of course I care, Fastel sulked. I'm just not worried. Denki looked like he wanted to ruffle non-existent hair, but he settled for a playful smirk. You don't need to worry about a thing. Everything will be alright. We're scary Terran death worlders with weird powers after all. Plus, it's just a shopping trip. Don't worry, we'll see you soon, Ochako piped in. Yep, goodbye. See you later. It's time to go, Mei exclaimed while pulling Izuku and Ochako towards the path to town. Bye! Izuku chimed as the rest of the Terrans moved to follow. Katsuki let out a tired sigh. Don't do anything dumb while we're gone. Stay with your friends or by the ship and stay safe. Okay, bye! Pyropa said with an enthusiastic wave. Bye. Fastel breathed as the group made their way into the forest. The woods were comfortable and familiar by now. The plants and animals that were so odd when they first arrived quickly settled into the ordinary. They could even name some of them now. Katsuki more than others thanks to his foraged cooking. Ochako breathed in the familiar air as they walked. She was glad for the comfort of the forest before they left their small town for the first time in months. She didn't want to say she was anxious, but she was a touch anxious. Being in a brand new city was generally something she gets excited about. All new things to explore and experience. But things were a little different here than back in Japan. It was less like checking out a city from the next prefecture over and more like being in the capital city of a foreign country when you're still learning the country's language and unique customs. Just a bit scary, but exhilarating nonetheless. So, despite the anxiety Ochako had about going to the big city, she was still more excited. It wasn't too hard to push back on the anxiety she felt with all the things she was looking forward to. Sure, she didn't fully understand the whole culture of the planet or space, but she was excited to learn a little more, to get out of their rhythm of monotony and remember that there's a whole world outside their little town. Ochako didn't realize how cut off from the rest of the world she felt until they were about to dip a toe back in. Back on Earth, the internet connected her to major events 24/7. But now, she felt like a medieval farm peasant who spends their whole life cut off from the world, just doing what it took to survive day to day. She didn't become a hero in training just to worry about herself and her friends. She did it to help her family just as much as she did it to help other people, to make them happy. She couldn't do that while closed off from the rest of the world. Sure, they all needed time to recover, but she wanted to get back to helping people as soon as possible. Actually being able to go out with the people sounded pretty nice. Waiting to get back on their feet was tiring. She could do it, but still. Soon enough, they arrived at the edge of town. The town itself was becoming intimately familiar to her and the group. She certainly didn't know her way around the whole thing, but collectively, they had covered a lot of ground. With Mina in the lead, they quickly made their way to the town's train station. Well, it wasn't exactly a train. The closest thing on Earth Mina could seem to compare it to was a maglev train, so that's what Ochako was going with in her head. Once they actually arrived, she thinks it was a pretty good description of the vehicle. Luckily enough, the planet seemed to have extensive free public transportation. It was a lifesaver when it came to getting to work, and now it was letting them hitch a free ride into the city. So, as the group settled into their seats and the train started to glide smoothly along, Ochako looked out the windows towards their destination. Big city, here we come. The train is surprisingly smooth. Zuko can't even feel a slight rumbling under his feet. Just another example of how advanced alien technology is compared to Earth. He still couldn't believe that he was helping build something on that level. He definitely didn't understand the internal workings of the parts they were going out to buy, but he understood the bigger picture well enough. He didn't doubt Mei's negotiation skills, so he definitely understood why they needed to go, but he was anxious. He wasn't a fan of going to the city back on Earth, and he was definitely not looking forward to being in a busy alien city. The fact that the rest of the teens were coming was certainly a big comfort. When it was just going to be him, Mina, and Mei, he felt like he was going to have a panic attack. Just no. So yeah, he was glad that everyone was here. Zuko was squished into a corner with Ochako leaned up beside him. Mina was pestering Kachan about his avid love of spicy food, while Denki was looking wide-eyed out the window. Mei, on the other hand, was studying every bit of alien tech she could see. At present, she was halfway into disassembling the lighting feature above her. Yeah, he'd be okay with everyone here.